Hello and welcome to Dean Park. In this video I'm going to be answering a lot of your questions that I get sent through emails, comments on my videos and comments on my Facebook pages. I've been meaning to do a video like this for ages, as it's impossible for me to answer individual questions quickly and in a timely manner, so I've kind of grouped together the most commonly asked questions about what I do here at Dean Park, and I'll try and work through the answers. Now, there'll be links to other videos along the way to further explain what I've talked about. If you have any questions on anything you see, just post a comment on the video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. By far the most common question I get asked on my videos and my Facebook is, where do you get your back scenes? The only type of back scene that I've used on my layout is back scenes from ID Back Scenes, and they are the 15-inch high premium self-adhesive variety. You do get smaller ones that are only 15-inch, and you do get the ones that you can mount with wallpaper paste that are made from heavy duty card. It's entirely up to you which one you use, but I've chosen the self-adhesive ones that have been mounted on a 6 or 5mm bit of ply that's been undercoated, sanded, and then had a few coats of white gloss paint put on it. The back scenes that I've used are the industrial back scene, which you see in front of you here, and on the other sides of the layout it will have been the Into the Town series that I've used. Being the 15-inch high ones, it allows me to cover a lot of the truss work, etc. behind the layout, and also I've had these slightly adapted for me by art printers to bring the images into the foreground a little bit more and to adjust the height of the horizon. So these are bespoke, but they're from the original ranges, from industrial to Into the Town. I would check out the ID back scenes because there are, you get a lot of varieties of type of back scene to suit, I would say, any layout. One of the most common questions I get asked is what colour of paint have you used to paint, say, the fences, the railings, the lampposts, etc. on my layout. I've gone for the Humbrol acrylic spray option, and what I always do, whether it's a plastic kit, a laser etched kit, or a white metal kit, I'll always give it a spray in Humbrol acrylic primer. Why do I use the Humbrol range? Well, it's very quick drying. It's not the most cost effective option per millilitre, but I find it gives a good finish on the surface, and it says it's meant for plastics, woods and metals, and it does give a good bind to these materials. The top coat of grey I tend to go for is light grey 64, and that's what you'll find my fences around the S&T facility, the lamp posts, and even the overhead masts that I covered recently. They're all done with that number 64. It's a great colour for a starting point if you want to add weathering to the top of it. It takes the weathering powders from Humbrol extremely well, and then you can seal it in place with a spray varnish. The spray varnish I use is also Humbrol acrylic. Obviously, if I want to vary the tones that I've got in other areas of the layout, I'll use an enamel, grey 64, and I might lighten it or darken it with black or with white, just to vary the tones a little bit, which I do quite often. And that's what I did with my Nightwing Portakabin. I give it a 64 with a bit added white in there, just to lift it a little bit, to stop it looking too samey with the railings and that around about it. Another question I get asked a lot is how do I keep my rolling stock and my locos dust free? Dust's an ongoing battle for any modeller, whether you've got your layout in a spare room, a garage, a shed, or indeed a loft. Keeping it to a minimum and little and often will stop the dust building up on your layout and your models. For the layout, I tend to take just a hoover attachment around the tracks. Obviously dusting static grass is quite difficult, so you've got to be careful with that. Just maybe hover the nozzle above just to lift any loose dust off, but you'll not really see it as much on the scenery as you will on the locos. I've got a Mark 1 in front of me here, and they're quite prone to dust, especially as it's got the ribbed roof. You tend to see it, I find, more often. This has been dusted 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's not got a lot of dust on it, but I can see a little bit. What I like to use is one of these puffer brushes that you get for cleaning the lens of a camera. Obviously, being designed for that, it's going to be a very soft brush, and it's not going to scratch or mark your models. And if you wish to move some stubborn dust from, say, a recessed part or a vent, you can puff some air through. It's not a lot, it's not a hurricane. It just moves any stubborn dust that might be lodged in somewhere. And to do a coach, it's just very simple. I'd take it off the layout, off the tracks, by the way, because if you do it on the tracks, all you're doing is putting the dust down the tracks, and that gets picked up by the locos and stuff. So I take it away from the layout usually, and I'll just quickly, kind of like a feather duster basically for models, work my way along. Now obviously some models are more finely detailed than others, so you've got to watch, especially aerials and that on a cab roof for, say, a 47 or a 37. You've got to be very careful the way you go about it. And at the end here there's a bit more fine detail, so I'll get in amongst the gangway door and the steps. Okay, and the side of the coach, which doesn't tend to suffer too much from dust, I'll just give it a light dusting, and the under frame details are pretty dust free, to be honest. So I'll just give it a quick dust, and any dust getting caught in there, I'll just give it a wee blow out, and there we go. So this is the brush I use. I picked it up from an online camera shop. I can't remember what it was. Very cheap, a couple of quid. Dean Park's got quite a substantial section of retaining walls, whether it's the scale scenes based card construction at the station or the newer section which is scratch built from wood and plastic card. I get a lot of questions about how this part is made, and obviously the retaining wall in the background there, the red brick. When I made it, I made a conscious effort to remember I'm putting it in a loft. There is fluctuations in temperature, whether you like it or not, or try to minimise it or not. It's just the way it is. And it's got to be stable in cold conditions and then not warp when it heats up. So what I chose to do is a kind of belt and braces approach, as is my want. I built an MDF frame. Now, I have weather sealed these on the layout with paint, just again to stop any moisture, but they're pretty stable as they are, to be honest. They're not going to go anywhere, even unfinished as this. Strips of MDF with obviously strengtheners. This has been trimmed off a part of the end of a wall, since that bit's a bit thinner, but that'd be another strengthener. And on top of that, I've glued 3mm MDF, okay, and it's supported basically from there to there, so it's not going to go anywhere. Before I did glue the MDF on, I glued on the brick plastic card, and that's from Southeastern Finecast. And all I did to do that is I cut a strip of this to match the size of the strip of MDF. I placed it on the MDF on a flat surface. I then flipped the brick card over, and I gave the back of it a good coating of Rocket Rapid adhesive. I then placed it on and then weighed it down onto the MDF and gave it, a good 6 to 8 hours just to dry. When I take it off, it's been, obviously firmly glued on, as you could probably see there. Okay, and then I glued this frame onto the back of it that way down, so that the brick was always facing the desk, and I built the frame on the back, just glued together with PVA onto the MDF, and then weighed that down, and that gives me my structure. Obviously with the curve I had to use a former and stuff, that's more complicated for the curved walls, but for a straight section this is what I did. And then you can add your ridges, your buttresses and everything on top of that. You notice I've added obviously the wall to the back as well. Now this is designed to slide in just below the height of my raised section, which is here. So this wall, for example, is the same construction as that. In fact, I think that's maybe a trim bit off that one. So it slides under, and then you can screw it from the top if you want, or just slides in place. You can remove it if you need to. So that's how I do my retaining walls. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but this is the way I've found that's more stable for the environment that I'm using it in. Hope that's answered. I get quite a lot of questions on that, so I hope that's answered those questions. Well, I hope that's been useful for you. I'll be doing more question and answering videos in the future. I've only got through a fraction of what I'm asked regularly in some of the comments on my videos, so watch out for some more of these videos in the future. If you have any questions in the meantime or suggestions, please add them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. Cheers.